Hi, all. Thank you so much for continuing with this journey on Emergent Tree in our digital sessions. This is going to be session 2, and we're going to focus on the reach and respond. So, just what we're going to go over is first of all, what is reach and respond? Then, we're going to talk about why we would need to do reach and respond and how it is done. And then, what we do with the responses that we garner from a reach and respond. And then, we're going to wrap up with a call to action. So, what our next steps are going to be. So, really quickly, an introduction. Again, I wanted to pull our focus over to the Emergent Tree tiered behavior systems tray. This is the things that they have identified as the supports for a tiered behavioral system. Our last session, which was going over the behavioral matrix, was talking about the skill building. And today we're going to be focusing on connections. So, making those connections with students and what we can do with those connections. Again, the Tier 1 behavioral support system that we are getting from Emergent Tree is all about laying a groundwork for students to be able to behave themselves in a proper manner. Specifically in this graphic, with this session, we're going to talk about active supervision and monitoring. So, keeping an eye on those students, what their moods are, and what we can do to prevent any sort of escalation with their moods. Okay, so why and how? So, why do we employ reach and respond? I pulled this quote directly from the Emergent Tree website. So, the reach and respond routine, it supports teachers to engage in a positive exchange with students daily. So, it's important that every day we have some sort of positive exchange with a student. You don't want them feeling as though every experience that they come into your classroom is going to be negative. So, having those positive exchanges daily is important. It's relatively quick, but the small investment of time leads to increased school connectedness and positive relationships, as well as decreased likelihood for challenging behaviors. So, if students come in and they have a positive environment, there is less likelihood that they will act out negatively. So, here's how a reach and response system would work. First, the teacher would meet the student at a doorway or within the first 5 minutes of class. So, you need to be able to gauge how a student is feeling when they are first in your class. So, it could be something as simple as connecting with them. Make sure that you utilize their name so that you know that that you see them. That's all part of that positive connection. So, good morning, John. Glad to see you. How are you doing? Then you're going to invite a response through a specific signal or routine. This is something that you need to set up with your students ahead of time so that they know what to do with this system. So I'll show you some examples of what that looks like that you could utilize pretty quickly in your own classroom. But it could be something as simple as giving you a thumbs up, thumbs down, any sort of really quick, snappy routine so you can see, okay, the student is in a not so great mood today. I need to connect with them and see what I can do to help them because obviously, when students are in a poor mindset, they tend to not learn as easily. Then you're going to need to follow up later in the day or in that class period with those students who have those unfavorable responses. And again, find information that you can use to help support them. Sometimes those situations are something that you can't necessarily control because they are outside of the classroom scope, but you can at least show the students that you are there to listen. Then, if there is a pattern of unfavorable responses, so a student is telling you consistently that they are not doing well, then that's something that you will probably want to follow up with their counselor and possibly have a call home about. So, specifically in the secondary world, we've seen those videos where elementary school teachers have really cute little routines with their kiddos as they walk into the classroom. It's hard to kind of bring that into the scope of secondary, especially with the middle school. So, just some considerations. First of all, you don't necessarily need to do a reach and respond every single class period. If you would like to, that is something, it's your prerogative. Students have different moods as they change into different classrooms, but sometimes keeping up with those every class period can become a little monotonous and students might feel it's a little disingenuine. So if you target specific designated periods of the day, so maybe it could be the first period of the day, maybe it could be your advisory kids, maybe it could be the class that you specifically feel is the most difficult to manage sometimes. Any sort of targeted class could be a way to start off with this. Make sure that your students are being taught and provided those structures so that they know what is expected as far as that reach and respond routine. Then there's some example responses, but I'm going to give you just very more specific visuals of what those responses can look like. So first, I want to show you this option. This is the Emergent Tree door greeting option. So this poster would be posted outside of your classroom. And as students enter, they're going to give you a fist bump with one of those options that is shown on here. So they'll tap the top of your fist by saying, okay, this is I'm doing great. In the middle, I'm okay, not good, not bad, but I'm just here. Or they can tap the other way to say, I'm not good today. This is a way that's kind of more inconspicuous for students as they come in sometimes. And it's very quick. So as you're greeting them, hi, good morning, John, give them a fist bump. Okay, now I know, hey, John is not doing great today. I need to check in with him later. So another option, so that poster is a little bit more generic. We can have more specific content, specific posters, or just a specific poster that is Lake Highlands specific. So again, you would post this outside of your door and have students as they walk in maybe slap one of these options. So maybe they'll slap number 1, number 5, or if they are a content specific one, they would just tap one of those icons as they walk in and you make a mental note of how they're feeling. Another option is giving a thumbs up, thumbs down, a middle thumb. So this could be something that either they do as they walk into the class or whenever you have gotten the class settled and it's the beginning of the period, maybe they are finishing up their warm ups, you finished attendance, you pull your class all together and say, all right, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. How are you feeling? Get a really quick visual analysis. You don't have to have them hold them up. They can hold them down at their chest so that they are not being pointed out to other classmates. And this is a really quick way to gauge that as well. Make note of who you needed to connect with. Lastly, there's an option to do it digitally. So this is something that is specifically suggested for secondary students because of that whole wanting to not upset the status quo. They don't want their classmates to know how they're feeling. There's a lot of insecurity there. So, this is a really great way to do it in a way that is a lot more anonymous. So, a digital check in. One option is the Go Guardian check in. So, if you utilize Go Guardian daily, there is an option, there's a tab whenever you are in a Go Guardian scene. There's a tab, I'll point at it. It's this check in tab. If you click it and you start the check in, it will post this up on the students' screens. And they just really quickly click on one of the emojis to let you know how they're feeling. Then, once they've clicked that, you'll get this screen down here that gives you a quick response. It's a really, really quick, great way, anonymous way to get how the students are feeling. And you even have the option to chat with them individually if you have students who do not like to really talk about things verbally. You can also create your own check-in with your students. So maybe you could create a Google form that has a gauge for them to utilize, and then they can give you even some more information with that. So those are just some of the options. Now, let's say that you have a student who tells you or shows you that they are not doing well. So maybe one example, maybe your whole class or a big majority of your class is not doing well. Maybe they just came from a big state assessment and they are tired, or maybe something happened during lunch that affected the whole mood and just kind of how they're feeling. You can address the whole class. You can, set intentions. Okay, I know that we just came from state testing and I know we're all tired. So this is what we're going to do. I want this to be how we behave. If you feel that you can't do it, let's have a discussion about why. and things like that. You just give them some sort of overall expectation. You can also have positive journaling, give them a little bit of time to reset, give them some inspiration. Giving a class wide reset is a great way to help with those unfavorable responses. If you have a single student who has identified that they are not doing well, you need to go and individually speak with that student. All right, I noticed that you said that you're not feeling well. Let's talk about it. What's going on and how can I help? Those students need to know that you're there to help them. Again, this is part of that positive relationship piece. And again, as I said before, if a single student is being persistent and they're always telling you that they are not doing well, that is a time when you need to contact the counselor, possibly contact their parent, and you need to talk about what the next steps are because there's something happening there. It could be something beyond school, it could be something within the school, but you need to identify and figure out how you can help that student become more comfortable. Another consideration is to keep documentation. Obviously, documentation is the name of the game when it comes to education. So, if a student is consistently showing you unfavorable responses, documentation can really help with tier two, tier three situations where we can get some help for those students. So, it could be an indication of a larger issue, but let's try contacting home, contact a counselor. This is just an example of how you can document. So, have the student's name, all that information, what their response was that day, and what did you do about that response, and give that to their counselor or the MTSS coordinator so that they can come up with some action plans. Okay, so now that we've gone over reach and respond, I want you to select or create a reach and respond routine and implement that in your classroom by April 10th. Now, if you are watching this after April 10th, then just implement it as quickly as possible so that you can begin to create those connections with your students and show them that you are there for them. Especially around this time, students are tired, teachers are tired, we've got state assessments coming up. So it's really important that we try to keep the students' feelings in mind so that situations don't become escalated as frustrations build. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. And just want to point out again that there is an Emergent Tree foundational training. You just need to go to ClassLink, click the Emergent Tree logo, and there you will find the Emergent Tree foundational training. Thank you and have a great one.